Welcome back to On Stream Guide. It's been a long time. This is going to be a short presentation on fishing dry flies in small streams. Something that's particularly close to my heart. It's a particular style of fishing I became adapted to very early in my fly fishing career, and one that I still love even now. There's nothing like small stream fishing for wild brown trout, in my opinion. It really gets my pulse racing. I hope this short presentation demonstrates that you get some of the excitement that I get from it. I'm going to be talking about fishing a dry fly. The dry fly I'm going to be fishing is available on my website. It's called the Soft Hackle Dry. This is my personal generic go-to dry fly. It represents a whole range of items: spinners, duns, mayfly, caddis. I don't really care what the fish take it for. All I know is that repeated analysis over rising fish has shown me that the fly is generally 100% effective, with the exception of when fish are obviously taking small black items in the tails of so when fishing opportunistically or fishing blind, which we'll go into details with when I start the presentation, then this is a great go-to dry fly, and cast at rising fish it's equally effective. My outfit is my 389 Sage. This is a VPS light. I've got a 3 double taper line on, an on-stream guide fur leader, which I've applied red mucilin to. That's to keep it afloat. The fur leader is the perfect anti-drag tool. That's why fur leaders are so effective, and it keeps my dry fly nice and drag free in some complex presentations when, for example, I'm fishing blind into areas where you might normally fish nymphs. So I'm fishing the dry fly and I want to keep the dry fly drag free in the take zone. Then the fur leader comes into its own in aiding presentation. My tippet setup is quite simple. It's 2.5 feet of bog standard 7-pound nylon and 2.5 feet of Orbis Super Strong, which unfortunately is no longer available. It's my favourite. It is at the moment my favourite tippet. This is 5X. There's no point in fishing lighter tippet, in my opinion. The hook is a generic hook, a generic fly. It's a size 14, and you go by the rule of 3. So 14 divided by 3. Well, 15 is as close as 5X, so it's about the right strength tippet material to use for that size fly. So without further ado, I hope you learned something from this presentation. I'm going to be looking at fishing the fly along lines blind, into riffles blind, and then specifically targeting fish. And I'm going to concentrate the fly in those seams in the fast water. This is water which is more typically associated with nymphing, but it's perfect for using the technique which I'm demonstrating, which is blind dry fly. So where I'm going to put the fly is there's a little seam down the middle of that confused water where the water's moving significantly slower, and the fur leader will enable me to present the fly in that choppy, slower zone where I might expect an opportunistic brown trout to be sitting, waiting to intercept anything. Fly's not a big fly, it's a size 14, which is big enough to see in this type of water. We need to use a fly that we can have a good visual fix on. Now my feeling is there should be a fish maybe a metre up, about near where the fly is now. That sort of area. There we go. Oh, that was a nice fish. Turned on that fly. Oh, what a cracker. Right where we're expecting it to be. That's a lovely fish. In this evening sunshine. Beautiful wild brownie. Good stamp of wild trout on this beautiful northern stream. This one to hand. As we see, plump, fat brownie. Beautiful, beautiful fish. Marvellous hook just comes straight out and back he goes, facing upstream. So basically that fish was in that little bit of fast water there. I was fishing the dry fly blind, which is one of the techniques I was talking about. We can use targeted dry fly at specific rising fish, or like that one, we can fish the dry fly opportunistically into the areas where we expect a fish might be ready to turn on the dry fly. It's a very good chance that there'll be another fish in that hole, so I'm going to dry the fly and continue. Wild fish. Airborne as ever. Thing like a wild brown trout for showing you its acrobatic ability. Beautiful little brownie. Jumped straight in the air right in front of my face. And he took on the rundown. So two fish from that little pocket of water there on the dry fly. Probably not the most effective way of fishing, but it's always one of the most enjoyable. We always love. So I'm going to fish the fly along the lines where I hope fish might be sitting. I'll just get the range of the couple of casts. Oh yes, that took straight away on that line as predicted, going down there. Nice wild fish. That was right on the rock, where we expected the fish to be. Gorgeous wild brownie. Beautiful fish. They are absolutely gorgeous. It's right in the corner of its mouth, little bulbous footwork of course. Straight out. Should go back. There we go. Teeth get disentangled. So straight away that was the first real cover. There's a little line behind the rock that looked ideal for a fish. So put the fly in the right area and you saw the success. So we'll move a little further up, another 10 feet or so. There's a good line ahead of us. There's a bay between the back of a branch and there's a start of another series of bushes here. Between the two area is always a hot spot. There's a foam line there. So anywhere where there's a foam line we might expect to see fish. So I'm just going to reposition myself 5-10 feet further up the river to get a good cover along that line and see if we can bring a fish up with the soft hackle dry fly. There we go. Oh, that was a nice fish as well. So that fish came straight away to the dry fly. First cover along that line. And he's a good fish. So the first cover along that line, reduce the fish to the fly. I've got an inkling there'll be at least one more along that line, maybe a bit further up. There we go. Oh yes. There we go. So concentrating the fly, lined along these lines, produces these pretty wild fish. That's a beautiful little wild fish. Stunning brownie in a small stream like this. It's another reason for using these very light outfits. You get sport from these small feisty fish. Beautiful red spots, beautifully marked. Barbless hook, of course, will come straight out. The fish will come to no harm at all. Back he goes. Gorgeous fish. So as I predicted, there was another fish, and there may even be one closer to the tree branch. So in a second or so I'll dry the fly, rest the water, and have another cast a little bit closer up to the hanging branch in the water. There might even be another one in there. It's a good spot for a fish. So I'm looking at the foam lines, fishing the fly onto the lines, and we're drawing fish up onto the fly. I'm going to try and there. I've just seen the rise right exactly where I was thinking of targeting. So now it becomes a targeted fish. I'm not fishing blind anymore. There is a fish right on the line, close to where that fly landed. Perhaps not right on it. It didn't bring an expected rise to it. We now have a target. He seemed to rise a metre off that branch. That's quite tight here. There we go. Oh yes. Oh, lovely wild fish. Nice wild fish. Some obstructions here to keep the rod high. Boring deep. Let the rod do its work. Oh, and off it comes. Probably put a little bit too much pressure there for the camera. Beautiful fish, but you saw how effective that fly was when it was in the right area. The fish responded very quickly to it. Beautiful wild fish. And so it demonstrates how good presentation using the furl leader can bring fish to the fly in both a targeted manner where we specifically cast at rising fish like I've just shown, demonstrated, or we fish the lines as I showed previously in the hope that a fish is sitting along that line and will rise to the dry fly. So that's the dry fly on small streams in summer. Now there's a constriction of the head where the camera's focused in the river. Not quite what we call the neck of a pool, but there's a definite constriction there and several current speeds. And if you see this sort of structure, it generally holds fish. So I'm going to put the dry fly along it speculatively. I'm going to be as quiet as possible, get in front of the camera so you can see exactly what I'm trying to achieve. Fishing the dry fly. See how the furl leader works there, keeping that dry fly fishing at the correct speed along the line. There we go. Small agile brownie. Proves the case. Beautiful marked fish. Let's take the fly very well. It's going to have to be the extricated forceps. That'll be fine. There we go, fella. Back you go. So as predicted, in that area there were fish, not the size fish that we're after, but it proves a principle. There is a rise form on this rock just in front of us. I'm not sure if it's going to be any bigger, but we'll cover that before we move. Sometimes rise forms in peculiar places like that can produce spectacular fish. Soft apple dry fly has been 100%. It's raised every fish that's been cast at. You can't ask more for a dry fly, and as long as I treat him with a little bit of respect, he'll last me for the whole session. I'm just going to put the dry fly just on the rock up ahead of me. There he is, straight away. Oh, poor little fish, I don't want him to be stranded. You saw that fish rise there, get the fly on him, instant result. Pretty little fish. He'll come to no harm. Now there are some fish rising in the tail out of the full head. Very, very difficult. I've got tree branches behind me, tree branch overhanging me from all angles. It's a very tricky cover. Just off that fish, they're not far away. There we go. Oh, nice fish. Nice wild brown. Showing you the stamp of the fish in here. Little wild stream like this, and it produces specimens of this absolutely awesome wild quality. As I say, my friends, aquatic leopards, I refer to them as super fish. Now, looks reversed, so be a little bit careful, I don't want to damage him. It's barbless, of course, and there it comes straight out, and back in he goes. Beautiful fish. Another nice fish rising just ahead of me now. Just shining. I don't like this sort of thing. this evening. Look at that gorgeous wild trout. There we go. Another smashing wild trout. Straight back in. Off he goes, like a shot. So the dry fly, as you've seen, has been supremely successful. Oh, and there's another fish rising around that bush. So we'll target that one right now. Oh yes. Oh, another beautiful wild fish. Stunning wild trout. And you can't beat dry fly fishing like this. Another super wild brownie. Look at that fish, what a stonker. They really are absolutely stunning creatures. Aquatic leopard. Coming back very quickly. There he goes. Oh, and off like a flash. So as soon as the fly was on that fish, he accepted it, as every fish we've covered has done. So it just shows what an effective generic dry fly this soft hackle dry is. I mean, it represents a spinner, a dun, a whole host of insects. It gives the impression with that high CDC wing and those soft hackles in the water. It gives the impression of something alive, and as you've seen, the fish accept the fly over and over and over again. Fantastic evening fishing on my local stream, and I'm going to finish now. I could carry on, there are more fish rising, but I'm satiated. I've had a decent number of good quality wild brown trout, and I'm happy to leave the rest of the fish in peace. I don't want to overpressure any particular piece of water. So, beautiful evening, and we've learnt several things. We fished the dry blind, the soft hackle dry blind, into faster moving pieces of water, and we've caught fish in that way, and then we've also fished the fly along lines and brought fish up onto the dry fly, and finally, as you've seen in the last couple of fish in this little tail here, we've targeted rising fish, got the fish to take the dry fly as it comes over them, and the furl leader has helped greatly with that presentation. If you want the furl leader or the dry fly, go to the website onstreamguide.com. So that concludes our first series, and that's dry fly fishing on summer evenings on small streams. I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye for now.